Manchester United 1, Manchester City 4. Battered there, really, if we're honest. I'll start with you, Jay. Just sort of talk me through how you're feeling about that performance, how United played today.
It's the nature of it, innit? Like, listen, I've seen us lose a lot of derbies. I can stomach that. It's the way you lose certain games. And, for this game, we were talking before, we wanted to see fight, go down fighting. I thought the first half, despite the defensive errors, we looked up for it. We looked like we were in the game. We were in the game. There was only a goal in it going into the second half. But that second half performance was as bad as we've played under Ralph Rangnick. I pulled out up there with the Wolves game where we lost. Or the Middlesbrough game where, all right, whatever, VAR or whatever, we're still poor. And it was just pathetic. We didn't, in any game we've had under Rangnick, we've created chances. We've looked like we could score if we were better in front of goal. We didn't create anything there. Anything at all in that second half.
We didn't have a shot.
I think, you look at it, there was no sort of tempo, there's no rhythm, there's no bite. We've got a big, massive hole in our midfield. And you look at the difference between us and Manchester City. They've got the lad Rodri in front of their defence, getting hold of the ball, giving it to De Bruyne and Silva and Foden and all the rest of it, creating things for him. We've got no one like that. You look at some of the defensive errors as well. Wan-Bissaka, probably his worst game in the United shirt, I'd argue. Phil Foden bullying him. Phil Foden's not an hard man. He's a kid from, wherever, from SK. And yet he was just shrugging him off at one point, and Wan-Bissaka goes flying. It's not good enough. Do you know what I mean? And listen, people will point the finger. I know I can't be bothered going on social media because I predict what's going on. I'm guessing Harry Maguire will be getting a lot of stick. I'm guessing maybe Vitz Lindelof will be getting a stick, and certainly Wan-Bissaka as well. But David De Gea's got to look at himself as well because, okay, it's the fourth goal in a 4-1 defeat. It doesn't, it doesn't matter in terms of the result.
But that's the one that led to a goal. There were others.
Yeah, but it's this thing we were talking before the game: distribution, bringing on pressure. And when you're up against it, you need a keeper who's got bags of experience like that to be composed and just hoofing it straight to City players and inviting more pressure. It ain't the one. I think it's a bad day at the office. I don't think anyone, to be honest with you, in a United shirt, covered themselves in glory. I wouldn't say any of them played well. No. Some of them were less bad than others.
I think Sancho, it was so unfortunate.
Sancho for his good point. Sancho for his goal,
but I think
and his first half. But then in his second half, he faded. There was a point as well where I think you pointed out to watch along. Teller's got the ball breaking down the left, and Sancho's just in his way. And I think it's like he's like
because they look lost.
Lost his composure a little bit, and like Rashford comes on and just chasing everything. Goes through, takes too long on the ball. Another one where he did well, so he played it over to Bruno, didn't quite get there. But other than that, he did nothing. Lingard comes on. Lingard's done nothing so far this season since Rangnick's come in. He was going to lead to West Ham. I'm not blaming Lingard for that because the game was lost before he come on. But he was going to go to West Ham. He didn't, not West Ham, sorry, Newcastle. He didn't, he stayed. Since he stayed, I think he started against Leeds. He's come on in a few games. He's not really done anything in any of these games. Lingard's been as toothless as I've seen him in a United shirt. And I like Jesse Lingard, but he's just not doing anything. I just think you have to point, you can say, everyone's poor, you can't blame one person individual. But you can point at them, you go, Marcus has got loads of experience, Lingard's got a lot of experience, Paul Pogba got hooked. Again, he's another player with bags of experience. Bruno's a player that can make it happen. None of these players did anything in the second half. None of them. Why not? Why can't they? De Bruyne's bossing the show. You've got Silva having a load of joy. You've got the likes of Cancelo, scissor kicking it in our box. Come on, man. Someone's got to take responsibility. And I think that this is the first one. I think, Abdullah, I don't want to keep nicking your bars, as the kids say. But you pointed it out in the second half. This is probably the first one where I do point a little bit of finger at Ralph Rangnick and go, Wan-Bissaka needs to come off. And for me, I'd have stuck Matic on. Get someone in there who can get
Wan-Bissaka
get the foot on the ball.
McTominay, I would have took off red.
You pointed out a start at one point, Joe, and it was for 15 minutes. We'd had 8%. Yeah. 8% of the ball. You cannot win a football match with that. No. You can't even draw a football match with that. Do you know what I mean? It's another trade. We've had 2 derbies this season, right? And for 3 halves of those derbies, it's been a training game for Manchester City.
They just get bodies around you so quickly, City. Like, when Marcus got the ball, like, you just see, like, floods of City players on him. And then there was one time where Sancho got it on the left. This is the second half, yeah. And that sums it up as United, because the reason that situation didn't occur in the first half is because we were actually sticking to a plan. And when a player got it, there was at times, I think we mentioned it in the first few minutes, like, what is the plan here? What's that? Pogba sometimes got the ball and you're waiting for the run. But they were still within close proximity to each other, the players. Second half, it's like, one guy gets the ball. Like, where's the runs? Where's the movement? Like, it was just, and that says a lot about the players because they're just exposing themselves in these performances. Just like I said, in the first game the first game under Ralph, Palace game, that summed it up. The first half, brilliant. Second half, you start seeing this dodgy side of the players that don't have the willingness to do it for 90 minutes and have that switch on for the whole game. And that's the levels that a Pep, for example, changes in the City team, that he drills into the mind of these players, but they've got to be winning.
They're a better team with better players.
Do you know what?
They're working harder than we are.
I know
Off
they
the
only
ball,
it was only Peterborough and a lot of them didn't play, but we've not even had a game in midweek. No. We've had a break, a chance to recuperate, a week off, to train, to get our act together, to bring a bit of intensity that you want to see, and yet after 60 minutes, not even after 60 minutes, after 50 minutes, our effort just falls off the edge of a cliff. And do you know what, right? And I know it sounds daft, but it's like Roy Keane says, when he said, like, just go and smash someone, just go and do something. There's not even any of that. Like, you've seen it in games in the past where, I remember in the Moyes era where we were struggling, someone like Rafael de Silva would just go through someone and get a crowd going, and you'd have a bit of like, or someone would go and grab hold of the ball and just try and make something happen. There's none of that today. I've seen players just running around like headless chickens constantly. I see Wan-Bissaka just keep giving the ball away, but he's not helped, by the way, by some of his teammates, because you can see he's having one. We've all played football at a certain level. You know when someone's having one. So what do you do when they're having one? You don't keep giving them the ball under pressure, which is what everyone kept doing. Oh, he's having a stinker. Let's keep giving it him, and let's not support him when he's got it. I mean, yes, he's got to take responsibility, but you need someone with a bit of experience to go, have a word with him for starters, come on, get your head in the game, and secondly, show that bit of composure at the back, and there was none of that. It was just keep giving it him or keep giving it away.
Against a team as good as City, you can't be playing with 9 men. Because De Gea can't handle the ball and Wan-Bissaka can't handle the ball.
Yeah.
Like, they are better than us anyway. And if we've got 2 players that you basically have to bypass or you lose it, which was today's option, it was give the ball to Wan-Bissaka or De Gea and they lose it, or try not to pass it to them.
Or if you give it to him,
we're not good
if you give it to them,
do that.
Support them then.
No, of course,
because I saw Victor Lindelof play the ball to Wan-Bissaka when he had 3 men around him and literally stood there.
No, I know. I
stood
agree.
on his heels after he played the ball.
Yeah.
Bro, if I'm playing 5-a-side and someone does that, I'm fuming with him. Yeah. Let alone 11-a-side in the derby for Manchester United.
In the middle, not showing for the ball.
Like, give him the ball and he's struggling. Even if he's not struggling, show for him. Yeah. Give him and there's none of that. So, listen, Wan-Bissaka's a £50 million defender. All right, we paid that for him. He's got to take responsibility. That was a terrible performance. But he's not helped by teammates who are just putting him under pressure, and it's almost like this absence of responsibility. Well, it's his problem now. Yeah. He's got the ball. I've done my bit. I gave it him.
All I had to do was not be in possession, and I've done my job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
We said it before the game. So many of the things that we highlighted before the game came true. Like, at first half, I thought we were pretty good. Like I said, it was 2-1 down, some shit mistakes, but we were making chances. We scored a goal. We could have maybe scored another goal. But again, Wan-Bissaka and the midfield can't pass. McTominay and Fred don't show for the ball. We don't have anyone in midfield like Paul Pogba when he does show for the ball. If he's deep, if he's in space, one of the best in the world, maybe the best in the world in that position, actually, up there with De Bruyne. If he's got men around him, he loses the ball too often. He wants to push people out of the way. He wants to control the ball once and then push him and control it again, push him. He's giving the ball away too often in that first half. And the other point we made before the game started was De Gea giving the ball away. And like you said, it was the 4th of 4. Can you really blame the loss on him? Absolutely not. But he doesn't allow this team to break the lines of pressure because his passing is consistently diabolical. He can't... look at Edison. Me and you both looked at each other, didn't we? One point in the second half. He just popped the ball out on the right to Cancelo. Just clips it over 2 United players. Cancelo takes it down first time, turns into space. De Gea didn't make one pass like that today. He's either putting you under pressure or just getting away with it. He never alleviates pressure. He never goes, well done, De Gea, he's got us out of
that sums up the whole team
but
about alleviating pressure.
No one can do it.
It's a good example, though, because McTominay wasn't doing that. He might have done it like once in the second half with the switch to the left. And then Wan-Bissaka is another culprit of that. Like, these guys don't make that pass. There was a Rodri pass that me and Jay spoke about that it just cuts through our team from a defensive midfield position.
That good. I almost admired it in a derby as we're getting battered. I'm always going, wow.
It's just
cuts
through
I want to be admiring
team.
Manchester City when we're playing him. I want to be disgusted by him as usual, laughing at him. Yeah. And it was just like, I wish we had someone that could do that. Yeah. Why am I sat here thinking that?
It changes the whole dynamic because then you've got a complete... you just got what? I've seen an article, honestly.
Sorry, I think Steve or someone might retweet. I think it was Mike McGrath in the Telegraph or whatever. I think he writes the Telegraph saying that that United might have an £80 million or a £50 million budget for the transfers in the summer, and then the rest is made up from what we sell.
Yeah.
Now, not just off that performance, but other performances we've seen. If I'm a manager coming into this club, I'm thinking I've got a lot of players I can get rid of.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I can get 10 players out of this
I
squad.
can get rid of these and get someone else in.
Do
And
you
I
know
can
what?
probably get rid of them, knock them off the wage bill because we're on massive wages, get some half-decent money for them, and then go to, even if I'm going to like France or Holland or the lower part of the Premier League or whatever, I can pick better players than these.
Do what Liverpool did with that Klopp period, like when he'd come in, like they were going for players for 25 mil, and they were picking up genuine superstars who have become genuine superstars now in Europe's top 5 leagues. Like you go and pick up maybe someone from France, even the Portugals. Like you look at Painha, I think at Sporting, he's 25 mil. That's another option that if you can't get Declan Rice, you're not going to spend your whole budget on him. Go and get him, and those types of players.
And he's
is
not
what you need.
He's not the player I would pick, and we go back and forth on him. I know, but someone like Ruben Neves can at least find a pass.
Yeah.
He's not a great player. He's not going to be the best in the world.
You asking me now, I'd take anyone.
No, and he's not Rodri. And I know you're not saying that he's worse than Fred. I think we can do better than Ruben Neves. But in those positions, when the ball comes into him, he can do a 1-2, go around the man, win it back, and pop it out to left hand side. We've got no one in a deep position that can do that at United, and that is just holding us back. You don't ever alleviate pressure. We can't play the ball out properly, and as the game goes on and we get tired, we just get fucking embarrassed. Like they said there's a 15-minute period of the game where I know it's 3-1, which is pretty insurmountable, but you get a goal back, who knows? You're in who knows territory there. We're not done and dusted. It's not 4-5-0. It's 3-1. A chance to get one back and go for 10 minutes at them. We have 8% possession.
What do you do with that?
And 8% possession, that isn't even like they're just that much better than us. That is, we have given up. Yeah. That is a professional football team that has given up. Because we aren't shit. I know we are shit compared to them. We're still comfortably a top 10 team in the Premier League. We are comfortably fighting for a top 4 race. I know, obviously, whatever, we can go into the points of it later. United are a very good football team in the grand scheme of things. To have 8% possession against anyone, they have given up.
You've got to ask yourself,
fucking embarrassing.
You know, you hear a lot of stories coming out of Old Trafford, and some of them you take with a pinch of salt, some of them you might think are true. But when you hear all these stories about players being unhappy with training methods, players being unhappy with the manager's intensity, players being unhappy with extra training, players being unhappy because Harry Maguire's criticised people, players being unhappy because Ronaldo's not happy, players being unhappy, you think to yourself, are these all just a bunch of spoiled brats?
Yeah.
Are they?
Yeah.
And then you look at that evidence on the football pitch, and I like a lot of these players. I do. I know people say they're not likable. I'm still, I'm a United fan, and I still respect a lot of them, respect all of them, and I like a lot of them. But you look at what you see on the evidence on the pitch, you think, do they give a toss?
Yeah.
Do they? Or are they like, do you know what, this game's already lost, sack it?
Yeah.
Because that's how it felt to me.
And just little things of like, subs coming on and looking like they've got less energy than the players they replaced. How's that possible?
I think the other thing is, it's like, when you talk about like the 8% that we had of the ball at one point, when the ball actually falls into one of these forwards, you're just driving into trouble because there's nothing, and then the fans go at these players, and it feels like parts of like what it is with Jose back in the day, and then periods with Oli, and then you start blaming the players, and then it's just the same circle.
The thing
from
is,
the
right,
top to the bottom, it's rotten.
This was always
rubbish.
This was always going to be the hard one, but we've got others ones coming on. You've got Spurs next week. You've got Atletico. Liverpool. You've got to beat Spurs, otherwise you forget any sort of remote interest in top
win
4.
the next 2 games.
Atletico Madrid, if yet again, it's there for you. Beat a team that's beatable at Old Trafford, in a packed out Old Trafford, and you're through to the last 8 of the Champions League or whatever it is, his last 8 in it. So these are winnable games on a, not on a plate, but you can do it. But now you look at that, if we turn up like that, I know City are better than Spurs or Atletico, but we're not going to win anything. We're not going to win any games. So they've got to get their act together, because we can't just assume that we'll beat these teams, because we won't. And I feel sorry for certain players. I feel sorry a little bit for Anthony Elanga, because really and truly, probably he shouldn't be starting the derby.
No.
Do you know what I mean? He's a good lad. He's a good player. He's in a good bit of form.
But where is Rashford? Where is Cavani?
Rashford's form just fell off a cliff. Cavani can't be bothered.
Martial's fucked it off.
Martial said he wanted to leave, so Ralph said okay. Cavani said he wanted to leave, convinced him to stay, and Cavani doesn't turn up at all. So you're in this position, and we know that obviously Mace Green was not available for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So where are we at? And it's like we're in a position where a 19-year-old kid's got to start pretty much every game. It's not right, is it?
No.
We've left ourselves in a position where we're over relying on players that we shouldn't be. And it's like, I can't believe that a summer where we went out, we got Sancho, we got Varane, We got Cristiano Ronaldo. We finished second last season, and some of that promised so much. We're now in a position where
5th or 6th.
we're probably not going to get top 4.
No.
We're not going to win the Champions League. Let's be realistic about it. I know the jokes at 4 is coming.
It's possible.
It's possible.
It's
but
unlikely.
It's highly unlikely.
Yeah.
And this season's going to be one of our worst post-Fergie.
Yeah.
It is. Trophy-less and Champions League-less.
We've got a few super chats. KM, who's been a member for 15 months, thank you very much,
Well
mate. He says, people blaming Maguire when every single one of the back 4 were worse. Akash Solomon says, outclassed, we're chasing shadows in the second half. Arsenal winning with games in hand. Top 4 is gone. Varane out with COVID. What's worse, the situation or how we have no fight? It's tough to be optimistic. I think they go hand in hand. I think we're in this situation partly because we have no fight. The amount of times when we've been winning games and conceded, goals to lose the lead and stuff. That's a lack of fight, isn't it, or a lack of mentality? Simon Shaw, at least they're winning. At least they're on the winning team in training. Yeah, a bit sick of them pictures now. Burnside is back. Ralph took over with an easy run of fixtures ahead of him. Pain incoming, fellas. Christopher Beltran, Maguire out, the biggest scam in the history of football. We won't be a proper team till the right man comes in. Embarrassing. Thing is, let's be honest. Even if Maguire was out today, are you playing Phil Jones? Like Maguire got dropped and presumably wouldn't have started today. It would have been Varane. But Varane's not available. So what do you want him to do? Just play Phil Jones instead? Who, again, I don't necessarily think... I think Telles probably had a better game than Maguire. But Lindelof and Wan-Bissaka certainly had worse games than him. So what would you have done, Phil Jones and Lindelof? Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the thing with Maguire is now the knives are out for him.
He's gone, hasn't he?
He's,
To
yeah.
a lot of people, he's
I,
gone.
I think even lads that I know who've stuck up for him a lot. I have a group chat and there's one of my mates who's been a very, very vocal supporter of Harry Maguire, almost against everyone else in this group chat at times. And even he's like, I think he's gone. And it's painful to see because I kind of like Maguire in a way. I feel like he's a decent lad. I just feel like now it looks like he's on a high.
No, but
like it's beyond
this sums
repair,
up this
doesn't it?
club, though, innit? Because his first season was good. Like, I actually think he had a good first season,
I
Maguire.
agree.
And then the second season, up until the Europa final, when he gets injured, you're like, you know what? We're going to miss him in this final.
Yeah.
And then this season, he's been shocking. Like, But then it's happened with too many players. Paul Pogba, world class, good in patches. Honestly, one of my favourite players to watch. I love Paul Pogba. Like, I wouldn't love anything more than him being successful at United. David De Gea falling off a cliff. Like, Rashford looks like one of the best forwards in Europe, probably in 18-19 at the start of that season. Like, and he feels like he was running the show. Falls off. This is a problem at Man United. We can't manage players properly. There's no. This all comes from the top. Because there isn't a real manager, there isn't a plan of how a team is built. Because it's just a bunch of players. Profiles aren't matching profiles, if you get what I'm saying. There isn't like a midfielder that can find a certain forwards runs and it matches up well. Like when you look at City and Liverpool, the squad isn't built properly. It's just like, oh, that's a big name signing, let's get him. Oh, that's Ronaldo available. Like as much as it excites us as fans, we're not getting paid to make these decisions. So sometimes it looks sick for us. Oh, Maguire, like he's good at Leicester, let's go sign him. Not bad. That Wan-Bissaka had a 6 season at Palace, let's go buy him. But then it's just not properly planning stuff, is it? Like 150 mil and Dan James, Maguire and Wan-Bissaka is an absolute stinker from this club, honestly.
My amateur says this game was bad, single out the season, and it's systemic. We simply don't have the quality anymore, and the quality we have get burned out and play poor. Fix the board, or it's going to be a bumpy ride. Preem Prodigy, Ole left us with the best squad post Fergie. Apparently, this squad is so unbalanced, it's ridiculous. Clear out needed in the summer ASAP. But the problem is, the reason people said that is because he finished second with them last year, and he finished fourth with them the year before, and he was improving, and we were getting to cup finals and semi-finals, not just regularly, almost every time. Other than the Champions League, it felt like you guaranteed at least a quarter-final or a semi-final. Like it was based on the results that we said this is the best squad since Fergie. But that doesn't account for, like you said, players just falling off cliffs and consistently happening with they're not being played properly, they're not being rotated properly. Brian Kevill says, I've accepted it. I'm past the point of arguing. We are miles behind Pep Guardiola. Miles. Gary says, lock them up in a pre-season style camp to concentrate on the Champions League. Fuck the league. Fourth's gone. Play the kids. And 3FW says, might be treason, but there's reason why Pep got rid of Joe Hart despite him being a good shot stopper. De Gea's passing puts a lot of pressure on us. Need more quality, work rate and mentality. I don't disagree with that, to be honest. I think there's a lot of players that you can find a reason for about 15 of this squad to fuck off, can't you?
Yeah, listen, it's difficult because as soon as you name one player, then people go, What about him?
Yeah.
What about him?
It's
What
a
about
lot.
him?
It's a
What
lot.
about him? But it's all of them, other than Jadon Sancho today, and maybe Elanga because of his age, possibly Tellez. I just think they're terrible,
These
all of
guys
them.
you mentioned now, they're all gonna go through the same patch, man. I've noticed it this season. Like I am blaming the players, like as a group and as a unit, where they're not following instructions for the full game, where the mind switches off and they're not got that intensity to carry on for a full game. But it's like the squad's just built in such a weird way, and the mismanagement and just the coaching that we've seen over the last few years, it's almost energy draining. Like, if I'm Marcus Rashford, I don't care if like I'm local and I play for United and stuff like that. Like, I'm a United fan. I'll leave in the summer, man. Like, I'd leave, and it's the same thing for the rest of these players. Like, I do blame them, but also the club hasn't managed these guys' career in the right way. It's not been built properly, the squad. And we've got players, do you know what, that would be good for this future team. Like, they would do well. But it's like, there's no reason for them to stick around. And we're going to look back and be like, oh, I'm gutted, like, so-and-so's gone. Or, like, I'm gutted, like, oh, maybe Bruno, say, goes, or, like, plays that one.
This is the thing,
and it hurts. Like,
I don't even think there's that many players that would leave United and go to clubs of a similar stature or better than us. I think the vast majority of these players
disagree.
would go maybe a Spurs or a Villa.
there's a couple star
Or a
players in
Leon.
there that you actually think
Yeah, but
go
a couple,
to top.
two, maybe. How many players do you genuinely think United could sell?
Do you know?
Or
Let's
would
be
go
honest.
to a
Let's be
Barca
honest.
Or a
Like,
Real Madrid or a Juve or a Bayern Munich. Like genuinely, 3, 4.
yeah, but then that's the players you build your team around. When you look at Liverpool a few years ago, when you look at that as a squad, how people used to always do this. They loved doing this with Liverpool back in the day, like with Klopp. Oh yeah, this guy's like, he won't get in this team. Like, he won't get in this team. He won't get in this team. Like, Mane wouldn't come to United. Mkhitaryan's better. Like, all of this shit. And then look at them now. It's about the way you build the squad, and it's about improving these players
Well, I don't
individually.
think we've got these players. Some of these players.
No coach has been here,
to,
though.
to build a team around at the minute. I look at him and I'm thinking, all right.
This is why you need to get the right appointment, though. innit?
Ronaldo is 37. Cavani's gone.
I think there's a lot of clubs though where you look at Chelsea. It looked as though like Azpilicueta might be on his way out. Rudiger was hit and miss. Kovacic can't keep himself in form. Werner wasn't there at the time. Werner under Lampard, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then you get Tuchel in, and all of a sudden Kovacic looks like a great player. Oh, that's weird. Kante's back in form. Rudiger looks like one of the best centre-backs in the league, and Azpilicueta's back to his best. Like, these things can change quickly with a different manager or a different system. I'm not blaming the manager, but confidence and good form could turn our perception of a lot of these players around. Go on.
Now, I just feel like, you're saying some of these players won't stick around, and I think a lot of them, that's their attitude. I think a lot of them, rather than like, I'm going to help turn this club around, which those players at Chelsea did, or some of those players you mentioned at Liverpool did, I think some of these players are like,
fuck this.
We know for a fact that at least 5 of them have gone in the summer.
Yeah.
We know that there's, Cavani, Lingard, Pogba,
Mata.
Phil Jones are all gone in the summer. Maybe you've got 1 or 2 others you might look at and go, you know what, I'm on my way. Maybe Eric Bailly, there's noises about him.
Henderson, Matic.
Yeah. So there's a few others.
Martial.
Yeah. How many of them? I forgot about him. How many of them actually want to stay and say, you know what, we can turn this around. I want to be part of turning this around. That's what you need. You need players like, I know it's a bit romantic and old school, whatever, but I saw the greatest midfielder I've ever seen, often playing amongst drivel. And he stayed and helped us win 2 back-to-back titles. He stayed and carried us through football matches. He stayed and watched the team progress around him, and he was up for that, and he did it. I'm talking about Brian Robson, who I was wondering. And now look at these players, and they have like 4 or 5 good games, and they think that's it. Now I'm, done my bit, and then they can check out for
the
another 3 or
attitude
4.
stinks,
That's
but
what I mean.
at the same time, I think it's improving individuals, and that comes with a manager. I think the club have got so many things wrong. They need to get the managerial appointment correctly, because from what I see from this Ajax team is I see a manager who's constantly elevated the team. I see a manager who, when the spine of that team got ripped apart year after year in the last couple of seasons, from your Van der Beeks, from your De Ligt, from all these guys in this team, Ziyech, like we can go across this whole team. He's rebuilt that, and you see him maximize everyone's ability. Haller was always a good player in the box, but he never got the goals. Like, when you look at a couple of seasons back, I think like 2019 when he joined West Ham, I remember a stat that I looked at, like he'd had the most shots in the area and stuff like that, and you think that's a player that knows how to get a chance. He goes to Ajax and the guy's breaking Champions League records. and doing these things because he's individually building these. Like Daley Blind, who fans wanted to get rid of and Jose wanted to get rid of, is putting some of the best performances in the Champions League out of any player in this season. You look across the pitch, Matsuraoui, like players that Matsuraoui was a bit of a 50-50 player a few years ago. Now looks like one of the best right backs in Europe. You need a manager who's going to maximise what you get out of each player. And I feel United need to deal with the appointment of the next manager urgently because we need someone who's improving players. We don't want just players that are going to solve problems. Everything's short term. You bring Ronaldo in so he can get you some Champions League goals, yeah? You bring Wan-Bissaka and Maguire in because they're Premier League proven and they can play in a defence or whatever, and you've seen them. They come in, they have a decent period, and then they're off. You bring in Pogba, but there's no plan of using Pogba. You bring in Pogba, you play him in a double pivot. You only do that if you got Kante besides him because you could do that in the World Cup. There's no holder in midfield. There's no one that's going to play you out of pressure. There's no one's going to play between the lines. Again, there's just no planning and there's no improvement of players individually. And I think that's where the next appointment needs to happen. And United need to go all out for Ten Hag. That's it. Like I think he's the next one up. And they need to back him with the right players. Like whether it's if he asks for a 20 million signing rather than a star signing, I'd rather that. And he thinks that he can build on a player. And that's what Klopp did at Liverpool.
If Ten Hag comes in, you remember Klopp went at Liverpool and he said, it's going to take me 5 years to win a title. He said that on his first interview. And everyone was like, all right. If Ten Hag comes in and said that, after 2 years, people would want him sacked. They would.
It's a disgrace. That's not the standards
Klopp
of Man United.
finished 8th in his first season. He finished 6th in another one or whatever it was. If that happened, Ten Hag does that, people go, loses 3 finals on a spin. He's not good enough, get rid of him. And we would, our club, that's what we do. If Ten Hag comes in, I'm with you, and he said, listen, it's going to take, this is a mess. It's going to take me a few years to sort out.
You could easily see what happened to Ole happening to him. Yeah. I'm not saying it wasn't the right time with Ole, but improvement, stagnation, gone.
Yeah. And if he, you know what I mean? Like, and if he's, as a fan, if he said, you know, it's going to take a few years, I'd wait. I'd be all right with that. If I thought, okay, you can see what he's trying to do. But I don't think that'll happen with his club.
I just want to see improvement in the way we play and the fact that we're going to have players that are actually up for it. And that needs to change this summer badly. And do you know what? I'm actually looking forward to just throwing away half this team. Like, I just don't care about him. Like, I just don't give a shit anymore.
Right. That's enough from us. I think let us know your thoughts in the comments. United have been battered. We could go through the team and the management and the owners and the board and the scouts and everything all day, as we do. But yeah, awful performance from Man United today. Second half was an absolute shambles. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Abdul. Where can people find you, mate?
Just find me AbdulGH_ on Twitter.
AbdulGH_ on Twitter. Thank you very much for joining us. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you in a bit.